Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went on Mehdi Hassan's show, and she was asked about her present vote for extra funding for Israel's Iron Dome. Take a look at her response.
Is it worth doing present? Because it didn't really satisfy anyone. The supporters of Israel are mad at you for not voting for it. Critics of Israel are mad at you for not voting against it. Do you regret that?
You know, it is something that I weigh, because there's always the macro and then there's the micro. And in the macro of narrative, of politics, of national impact, you know, I probably should have just gone with my value. But in the macro, which would be to vote no. But in the micro, I do believe that this created a window in our community to be able to bring all folks to the table, because my great fear is that we are going to import the same sort of contention around this issue, and we can have a progressive movement that defends Palestinian human rights, that is Muslim, Christian, Jewish. So in the micro, I believe that it created a window of opportunity for us in the Bronx. But in the macro, it was very difficult, yes.
What? That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, that sounds like a child trying to do sophistry and rationalize and explain away why they took the cookie from the jar when their mom and dad told them not to. We got the macro, and we got the micro, and we got a window of opportunity to bring everybody together to the table. That doesn't mean anything. Look, she said it at the beginning. Yeah, I should have voted. Maybe I could have voted my value, which is to vote no. Yeah, you could have just done that. You want to know why? Because Israel's Iron Dome is already fully funded. They also have universal health care. We don't even have universal health care in this country, and we're going to send our tax money to them so they can have extra funding for their Iron Dome. By the way, where's the Iron Dome funding for Palestinians? Is there Iron Dome for Gaza? Gaza gets bombarded all the time from Israeli aggression, Israeli government terrorism. Listen, I'll make a deal with you. You want Israel's Iron Dome to be there? Okay, as long as we have Iron Dome for Palestinians as well. Deal. This way everybody gets to be defensive. I'll shake on it right now. Ready? No, you don't want to do that, because really the U.S. government supports Israeli aggression. And so for her to vote yes on that, it's already fully funded. And you shouldn't even vote for that in the first place. But now you want to do the extra funding. And you voted present, when you know the right thing was to vote no, but you voted yes. Why? Well, the answer is very simple. I think her office got flooded with calls saying, vote for the Iron Dome or you're an anti-Semite. Effectively that. And there are plenty of Jewish folks and Israeli state supporters in her district, and I think her office was flooded with phone calls saying, you better vote for the funding for this or else, or we're gonna kick you out of office, we're going to organize against you and all that stuff. And so she heard a lot of anger directed at her from a particular position, and that cowered her in a corner, because she knows, because she's part of the squad, she's friends with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. You know, I'm sure they explained to her the situation. I'm sure that, you know, she knows why it's the right thing to vote no. So she was caught between her friends telling her the right thing to do, her own conscience telling her the right thing to do, and a bunch of angry supporters who are throwing the kitchen sink at her. And, you know, she's probably also thinking about re-election. Oh, maybe this vote will affect my re-election because there is a strong organizational impact against me if I vote the right way on this thing. Jamal Bowman, by the way, voted the same way. There's a lot of Israeli state supporters in his district as well. And I'm sorry, he didn't vote the same way. He didn't vote present. He voted for the Iron Dome funding. And by the way, there were some subtweets going on, too, of Ilhan Omar subtweeting AOC, like, you know, giving props to Rashida Tlaib for voting the right way and basically a jab at AOC, like, you're pathetic for doing what you did. And I think Ilhan Omar's correct to do that. So I think that's what happened. I think she was, like, pushed into a corner by angry constituents. But here's the thing, guys. You could get a bunch of angry phone calls from somebody over our funding and support of Saudi Arabia. Now, granted, it's a much smaller constituency, pro-Saudi constituency in the U.S., but if there's 20 people I can get to call you angrily, maybe paid stooges of the military-industrial complex, to say, you know, how dare you vote against our ally, our close ally in the region, Saudi Arabia, is that enough for you to say, oh, you know what, you're right, let's continue to give Saudi Arabia weapons or funding? No, you look at the overall facts and you'd say Saudi Arabia beheads people in the public square for sorcery and witchcraft and apostasy and drug smuggling. They're doing a genocide in Yemen. This is not somebody we should be funding or giving weapons to. So you'd vote no on that. But with Israel, it's different? No, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. She did a classic politician thing. She felt like she was in a corner, and so she took the coward's way out. And she herself said about Tulsi's vote on impeachment that it was the coward's way out to vote president, that basically nobody should vote president about anything. So it was incoherent babble there because she doesn't have a good answer. All she has is incoherent babble. I wanted in the macro, I wanted to vote my way, but in the micro, it's a window of opportunity to bring everybody together to the table. Who the fuck's going to sit down at the table together over this? Who's going to sit down? What, you think you got AIPAC is going to sit across from people who are, pushing for Palestinian human rights and hear them out? That's not going to happen. And this is the other problem with her. She acts like everybody's a good actor. I noticed this when Ilhan Omar was getting viciously smeared as an anti-Semite. Viciously smeared. Because she said, AIPAC money influences politicians. Now, if she said that, if she said Saudi money influences politicians, if she said, NRA money influences Republican politicians, everybody would be like, duh. But you say AIPAC money influences politicians on the Republican side and the Democratic side, and that's anti-Semitic? So Ilhan Omar is being viciously smeared. And what did AOC do? She tried to split the difference and act like, well, we got to hear everybody out. We need to hear everybody's voice, everybody at the table. And these people feel like that's bigotry or xenophobia. And Ilhan didn't mean anything by it, so let's find some sort of compromise or middle ground. AOC, some people are not honest actors. They are smear merchants trying to take down people who are advocating for the correct position. Period. But as long as you cloak some shit in identity, she falls for it. It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. It's the classic, just cloak whatever you're doing in some social justice garbage, and she'll be like, oh, I'm right there with you. It's like the tobacco companies now are lobbying against increased cigarette taxes. You know what argument they're making? Well, if you increase cigarette taxes, that's going to lead to more illegal underground sales of cigarettes. We know what happened when that was the case. Look at what happened with Eric Garner. He was selling Lucy's. He was selling cigarettes illegally, and there was a confrontation between the officer and Eric Garner was killed. So don't raise taxes on cigarettes because Black Lives Matter, and we are anti-racist. Now, my guess is she would look at that and say, well, that's fucking bullshit. Right, a lot of these identity arguments that are out there are bullshit. They are weaponized against the left to get you to not do the right thing. And in this case, it worked. Congratulations, AOC. Definitely a coward's vote. Definitely pathetic. And you have no answer because you have no answer. This is incoherent babble because it's incoherent babble. So maybe you should have done the right thing. And by the way, polling in the entire country, and I think polling in even her district, the majority of people would say, yeah, don't do this. We don't have health care here. We got a million things we need to fix. And we're going to send more money to Israel for Iron Dome when Iron Dome is already fully funded? It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. So, there you have it. Credit to Mehdi Hassan for asking a tough question, and terrible answer from AOC. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.